Hey guys, it's Christine. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about Frank Herbert's Dune, but also Dune Messiah. There might be mild spoilers here, simply because I'm going to review two books at the same time. The reason I wanted to cover both is because I've seen a couple of memes online about how to read Dune, or, what the Dune series as a whole is like. The first one is this one, which made me laugh so hard the first time I saw it. I am halfway through the philosophical section, and I'm extremely curious about the last two books, but I will get there eventually. So I do agree that the first two books are very political. I saw another picture on how to read the Dune series, and I'll put a picture of it up here. The font is kind of small, so, you can pause it and get out your magnifying glass if you want to read it. It's pretty funny. Or just Google how to read Dune, and that one will come up for you. And when I saw that, it said basically Dune Messiah is like an addendum. It said Dune Messiah is basically an addendum to Dune. So I thought, okay, that makes sense to review them as a couple then, because it is essentially wrapping up the Paul Atreides storyline in a very satisfying way. I'm not going to say in a happy way, because nope, but it's one of those things like, yes, there's more to be said, and if you want to continue the series, you absolutely can. But if you are kind of done with Dune by that point, that's a really good place to stop. So also, it is going to be where Denis Villeneuve finishes his movie series, from what I understand, and I think that's probably very wise considering what comes after. The movies kind of deserve their own video on its own. I will touch on them though a little bit, because my first exposure to Dune was the David Lynch movie, which is, I'm going to try to be fair, visually for its time, fantastic. But chewing the scenery doesn't even begin to describe. Like, Baron Harkonnen in the David Lynch movie is not threatening. He's just fucking loud. Like, there's nothing scary about him. He's just gross and loud and way over the top and way too much. And yeah. Also, if you like a whole lot of characters whispering their exposition in their heads, then sure, David Lynch's Dune is probably for you. It's not great. I don't love it. And also, it is a far cry from the books in a lot of ways. Not so much story, although, yeah, that too, because it rains at the end of the movie. Oh, God. Anyway, I'm getting off track. But essentially, their portrayal of Paul Atreides could not be more different from how he is in the books and how he should be seen, I think. Because for me, the real appeal, or what sets Dune apart from most science fiction that you get, is that it is morally ambiguous, to say the least. You've got these characters who, if you're talking about Paul Atreides, he has this ability to see the future, and he ends up leaning in to becoming the Messiah. And these people then go on to commit horrifying atrocities in his name. The whole point, apparently, of Dune Messiah was because people read Dune and were like, oh yeah, Paul Atreides, what a hero. And Frank Herbert was like, whoa, 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 were you paying attention to this book at all? He is not a hero. That's not a good thing. Being a Messiah is not a good thing. Giving that much power to one person is terrible. And so he wrote Dune Messiah to kind of show people, like, no, no, no. And here's the fallout of all these decisions that Paul made. He's trying, like, he is a sympathetic character in that he is trying in some ways to set humanity on what he calls the golden path and like a good way forward, but he loses control of the people following him completely, and he's set up as a messiah. They commit atrocities in his name. Billions of people are wiped out by his armies, and the whole point of Dune is that kind of level of control is not good. Being a deity among men is not good. These are not things that you should welcome into your life. So I really appreciate that about Dune. I love that it is not just, so many series have like clear good guys, clear bad guys, and your good guy is Luke Skywalker or Frodo Baggins or, somebody who is kind of infallible. Paul Atreides is not infallible. He has many flaws, and I like that. I like that. Like, to me, that's what sets Dune apart. It is slow at times. If you are interested in reading it, I would actually recommend watching the movie first. And by the movie, I mean the Denis Villeneuve movies. Because at least that way you'll have faces to associate with all these names, because there's a lot of characters. There's so many characters in these books that it helps to kind of know, like, okay, Gurney Halleck, okay, that's Josh Brolin. Like, you can, it's easier if you have faces to put with names, I find. And so, yeah, if you're interested in reading the books, I would maybe recommend watching the movie first. And also, because we haven't got to Dune Messiah yet with the movies, it's not really going to be spoiled for you because there is more to come, I guess. So anyway, the basic story, for those who don't already know, is that you've got the Atreides family. Leto Atreides is set up as the new ruler of Arrakis, and he's in charge of spice production, but he took it over from the Harkonnens, who are the big bad guys. The Harkonnens, with the knowledge of the Emperor, Emperor Shaddam, go in, wipe out the Atreides, or so they think, except that Paul and his mother Jessica have escaped into the desert to meet up with the Fremen, who are sort of the indigenous people of this planet. After they meet up with the Fremen, Paul is able to rally the people behind him by presenting himself as Muad'Dib, as the Lisan al-Gaib, which is their messiah. And so then he finds warheads and starts a holy war, because nobody will recognize him as the emperor. And so he just goes to war with everybody. So then the storyline for Dune Messiah is that we've got Paul, who is now the emperor of the universe. He has married Emperor Shaddam's daughter. Chani is still his concubine. I'm curious to see how that's going to play out in the movies, because one thing that I don't love about the Dune books is that, Chani was just sort of like, yeah, okay. Whereas in the movies, at least she's got the guts to be pissed off about it, So there's certain things that I appreciate about the movies over the books too. So there's a bunch of different plots against Paul going on, and he allows some of them to play out because he sees it as a way forward for humanity. Like, there's a very narrow path where he thinks, things can be okay. You've got the Bene Gesserit and a race called the Tlaxilu, I think is how you pronounce it. A guy named Scytale. They have brought back Duncan Idaho, who was killed in the first one. They have resurrected him in a way, and so now you've got him back. He falls in love with Paul's sister Alia. You've got that playing out. And in the meantime, you've got Paul, who's trying to find a way forward, because through various plot devices. The Fremen have started to not trust him anymore. He has lost control of their armies and the holy war that he started. So yeah, it's very interesting. It's very morally ambiguous, which I very much appreciate. It is slow. Dune Messiah is a lot slower than Dune, but that doesn't make it unenjoyable. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out as a movie, because it is a much different tone than the first book. The first book, you've at least got a lot of like fights and things to break up the monotony of all the plotting. Dune Messiah is mostly plotting and people losing control and trying to get it back. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do that. Just, if anybody can, I think Denis Villeneuve can, but I really am curious about how it's going to go. So yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed Dune. I very much enjoyed Dune Messiah, although it is slow at times, and a much different tone. It's a really good epilogue, I think, to the events that have happened in the first book. So it wraps things up in a really nice way. I know that if you want to keep reading, there are 4 other books and they get weird. But if you enjoyed, if you saw the movies and you enjoyed the Paul Atreides story, there is a good stopping point at the end of Messiah. I would recommend it if you enjoyed it. I think you should check it out. Those books they're dense, but they're really good. They are more accessible than I thought they would be. I think the first time I read Dune, I don't remember exactly when it was, but I know where I was working, which means I would have read it sometime between 2000 and 2010. And the old version that I have, I got from a secondhand shop, and this is the movie tie-in for David Lynch's movie. So it's got that look to it. It's got a very 80s sci-fi kind of look. I kind of like it though. It's, it's cute, whatever. But when I decided I wanted to finally get around to reading all 6 books, I went and bought the box set. So they've got more matching covers. You've got this one, which I do like. I like the design of this. There is a different cover that I've seen. I really, really like that cover, but I wanted to get the box set because I wanted all 6 books, and I like the idea of having the books match with their covers. So there's Dune Messiah. This one's also really good. I like the style of these, but I really like that other cover too. But I also don't want to own 3 copies of the same book. So anyway, that's just a little aside about covers. So yeah, if you are curious about Dune, go in forewarned that A, it's not light reading, B, there are a lot of characters, and C, don't look for a squeaky clean good guy, because he's not. I don't care what David Lynch is trying to convince you of. He's not that. That is not Paul Atreides. So if you're cool with all of that, if you're cool with things being a little bit ambiguous, then I would highly recommend Dune and Dune Messiah. And next we will get to Children of Dune, which starts me down the path of the philosophical, and it gets pretty strange. So look forward to that one. Anyway, that's it for me. Bye.